My name is Miss Karen, and I am the teaching artist here at the Stark Museum of Art. Today we are going to be creating, in the studio, some model magic animals. You'll see I have here a few examples of some creatures that I've already created. I cannot wait to see how yours turn out. Let's get started. You should have with you a pencil, 2 packs of model magic, and this piece of paper. We're going to get started right away. Let's get your name on this piece of paper. And we can set that aside. I'd also like you to open up 1 packet of your model magic. We can set aside this other one, we'll be using it later. Just 1 packet for right now. So, model magic is light, airy, and fluffy. You guys can start playing with it, squeezing it, pulling it, ripping it apart. This is a modeling compound. It's a lot like clay, and we'll be using it to sculpt today. This is clay. Clay is earthy, dense, it's really hard to move around, and needs to be baked. This clay is an earthenware, and it will be baked in a kiln at 1500 to 2000 degrees. That's 3 to 4 times as hot as your oven at home. You have lots of ceramic pieces in your home already. You may have some coffee cups, bowls, or plates, figurines, and some of you may even have your houses made of clay because brick is a type of red clay. We'll be using model magic, which is a modeling compound that dries in just a few days. So it's a little bit easier to work with in that respect. But clay is where you're going to find a lot of really interesting and fascinating things around your home and in sculptures. By this time, your model magic should be nice and easy to work with, very pliable. What I'd like you to do is rip this into 2 equal-sized portions. If you move it real fast, it'll yank right apart and also stretch it out into 2 equal-sized portions. What we're going to do is turn them into 2 pinch pots. To make those pinch pots, you'll need to make balls first. So we're going to squeeze, 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 maybe roll it around on your table or in your hands. Try to make sure these balls stay separate. Model magic can stick real easily next to each other. So if they stay separate on your table, then they will not stick. Once you have your 2 balls, we're going to take your thumb and stick it right on top of one. It looks a little bit like a mushroom cap. I'm going to squeeze it a little bit more around my thumb. And now we can begin to make our pinch pot. A pinch pot is basically just a bowl. We're going to use all of these fingers like a crab claw pincer to press up against your thumb. Just very gently, and it's going to make a little dip. If we rotate this piece that's on your thumb, pinch, rotate, pinch, rotate, pinch, rotate, pinch. I'm going to show you right now what it looks like. It already looks like a bowl. We're going to pop it right back on. I want to make it a bigger bowl though, so we're going to rotate and pinch, rotate and pinch. Keep going until you've got a pretty good size. I'm going to keep going and going and going. One area that I'd like you to avoid pinching too much is right here on the lip. We're going to be pinching in the main area of your bowl, right in the center. And at the very bottom, it might be kind of thick. You can test this out and you can pinch those areas too. I'm going to spread that model magic all the way around. As long as it feels even all the way around, even if it doesn't look like a traditional bowl, that's perfectly fine. I think mine looks a little bit like a cup. Once you've created one, we're going to set it aside a little bit and create another one. This one should be similar in size and shape to your first one. It does not have to be exactly the same. Start with the same process again with your thumb on. And then use all of your fingers to pinch, turn, pinch, turn. bit skinnier than that one. So all you have to do if you have one that's a little bit smaller is pinch the smaller one just a little bit. Right around the middle section again, trying to stretch it out. Still a little small. A much better fit. And with these, we're going to turn them into a single ball. This can be a little bit tricky, so go really slow. I like to match mine up right at the very bottom, right there, and then roll the lip around and around and around very gently all the way around your bowl. If there's a piece that doesn't seem to be going right, just keep messing with it a little bit at a time. Since this is hollow, we can't just cram it together, otherwise it will collapse. So it's very important to be working gently, 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 every step of the way. Once it closes up, then you have an enclosed figure that mine doesn't really look like a ball right now. But if I pat it gently back and forth with my hand, starting to get a little more egg or potato shape out of this, and that's really good. That's going to be a great base for our animal later on. So keep patting gently, 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 keeping in mind that at this point it's basically a balloon. We don't want to pop any of those balloons. You can even roll it on the table a small amount. You're always going to see this seam, so don't worry about trying to make this seam disappear. Just focus on getting your shape into what you want it to look like, which can be an oval, or it can be a sphere, or it can be anything. We're just looking for a good base for your animal. Once it's complete, we're just going to set it down right on your desk or your workspace and leave it alone for a little while. While your ball is resting, I'm taking you on a mini field trip into the Stark Museum of Art. This entire hallway is filled with wonderful birds by Dorothy Dowdy and Edward Bean. I'm standing in front of this piece right here, the golden Oriental pheasant. You can see him colored in, as well as a piece that wasn't glazed in as well. These were all created with porcelain clay, which can fire up to 2,000 degrees and still retain all of those wonderful details of those feathers and the shape of the bird without melting at all. 2,000 degrees is very hot. I love all of these birds, and I hope that you do too. Your creature does not have to be a bird. It can be any creature that you want, within a few guidelines. Your creature is already starting out with this round shape that you've created. And on your piece of paper, you're going to see that we have a round template for you to work with. So that means we're going to avoid certain animals like snakes and other long, skinny creatures. You'll be able to create something else. We can draw a two-dimensional version of your animal on this sheet, and then use that as a reference for your creature that you actually begin sculpting. Don't start drawing just yet. I want to talk you through the project so you know what to expect, and then you'll be able to begin at the end of the video. Here are some examples of animals that have been created already. I have here this little armadillo, and you can see this ball shape ended up being this shape right here. I added on a head, tail, and of course many other details. This bunny rabbit right here started out as one big fluffy ball, and all he really needed was his head. So I had some extra model magic left over for his top hat and his pocket watch. And lastly, this little chicken right here started out as a ball. He has a pinch pot head that sticks up right here with the comb and beak and feathers hanging out back there as well. A lot of times you're going to have extra model magic. That's going to help you with details like feathers, scales, fur, and other fun things that are going to bring your creation to life. So I'm going to get started on a sample piece and talk to you a bit through the process here. You've already got your body. I'm going to make a cat. This cat is going to have short little stubby legs because if I made really tall spindly legs, then it wouldn't be able to stand up. The animal could be sitting down. If you decide to make a tall animal, he can always just be laying down. That tail of our cat is also going to have to wrap around our cat a couple of times. With that second packet of Model Magic, you'll be using this to create the details on your creature. You have lots of extra Model Magic to use, so this could be for your head, those legs, arms, tails, wings, everything else that you're going to need. And then, if you have even more, you can do things like create scales, feathers, fur, and all kinds of extra details. If you wanted a big head on your creature, by the way, don't be afraid to make one more pinch pot. This time it doesn't have to be a full ball like we did before because we already have a thing to anchor it onto, but we could use it halfway. Pinch, pinch, pinch. And I could use that as a head for my cat. I can keep going and add other things. Model Magic is great for sticking. It will stick exactly where you want it to go. You never have to worry about it falling off as long as you stick it pretty firmly in position. But it is a lot easier if you create all the shapes with your hands first and then stick it on. If you try to stick it on and then mold it into a nose, for example, it gets a little harder. So you'll notice that I'm molding it first with my hands and then placing it on. You still have your pencil with you, so you can use this to poke. But if you also like, you can make tiny itty bitty balls for the eyes instead. That's a personal preference. And remember how I said I couldn't make tall cats? I really can't. We're going to make short little stubby legs and stubby little paws. As you keep going, your creature will start taking shape. One more thing I'm going to add to this guy is our tail. If I stick this tail out all the way out, then that's fine. But later on, when it dries, it might break off. So since I don't want that to happen, I'm going to have this wrap around our guy a little bit. And he can hang out like this. Since we still have this extra Model Magic, we can do things like add that fur that I was talking about. Little bits of fur here and there. Or even draw on some fur, just like this. And continue using this for extra details. You can also use this to cover up any of the seam lines that you don't like. You can use this to add accessories, like a top hat, or other fun things for your creatures. Once your piece is totally dry, remember that's in 2 days, then you'll be able to use things like magic marker or watercolor to color them in. That's going to add a little extra pizzazz. If your piece does end up breaking a little bit or coming apart, then what you'll want to do is use some glue. It will stick right back together with a bit of glue. I'm sure you're excited to get started. Thank you so much for joining us at the Stark Museum of Art. Your teacher is going to have a lot of insight for you as you begin work. She will also have some instructions on where to put your piece of paper and your creation so that it can dry over the next 2 days. Thanks so much again for joining us. Have fun creating.